listening to the Author Inside You podcast, a weekly podcast designed to motivate you to finish writing a book, choose a publisher, and have your work build an audience. Keep listening if you're looking to get propelled into the next chapter of your life. And now, it's the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.
Hello and welcome to the Author Inside You podcast. I'm Matt Rafferty.
And I'm Leah Rafferty.
Today, our guest is Maryann Ridini Spencer, author of Lady in the Window. Maryann is an award-winning screenplay writer, TV host, and novelist. Welcome, Maryann. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Maryann, you obviously are a very creative person. Lady in the Window, what an intriguing title. Can you tell us how your story started?
I was out visiting my parents on the North Fork of Long Island in 2014. Beautiful, quaint place. And I started thinking about setting my novel in that location. I knew that I wanted to write a book that would be a little bit of a mystery, but I wanted to incorporate spirituality in it and have a spirit help a person on earth. And I don't know, I just had that idea come to me, and I thought, okay, now I have to develop this concept. And I thought I wanted to place it out on Long Island. But when my family and I took a trip to Kauai later that year, I fell in love with Honolulu, and we go to Hawaii all the time.
Oh, that's
we
nice.
actually, yeah, we actually have a place in Hawaii, but I had never been to Kauai before. And when we were in Princeville, and when we took that bridge over to Honolulu, it was like another time period, and I thought, this is awesome. I have to write about this. So I had some great experiences there, and I just thought I have to place a novel here.
Well, while you were there, did you write there?
I did. I actually, what I did, I had a little bit of a draft already in my mind and written on my computer, but I ended up changing some things. And then I ended up changing things a lot more in 2015. So I really started writing the book in 2015, and I put myself on a schedule to do it because I do a lot of different writing. I'm a screenwriter. I'm a lifestyle journalist. I've written for a lot of newspapers and magazines and TV shows. I always wanted to write novels, and it takes discipline. Yeah. Because when you have your life, when you have a family, when you have your job, you have to carve out time. And I always said that I wanted to write a novel, and I always had that passion for it, but I never really put myself on a schedule. And I also had to read up a little bit about, different people's processes, I think, before I came up with my own.
So you said you were on a schedule. What was the schedule like?
My schedule for writing this novel, I said to myself, okay, I took out the calendar. I said, I don't care what it takes. I'm doing 20 pages a week.
Wow.
Yeah. So however quick or not quick, I sometimes it would be an hour a day. Sometimes it could be a few hours a day, but I had to do it. And if I did that 20 pages in 3 days, great. I could have the rest of the week off. If I did it, if it took me 5 days, I had to do it. And so when I plotted that out, it took a few months. And then I had to go back, of course, and go through it and edit it.
Sure.
But another thing that really helped, I do not write anything. I do not write a screenplay. I do not adapt a novel to a screenplay or write a novel without having an outline.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, I can't, because otherwise I don't like the editing process. I really don't. I like creating a story and then sitting down and getting lost in it and write it. Now, you may say, well, isn't that boring? You already know what's going to happen. No, because so much happens. When I mean I do an outline, I bullet out maybe a couple of words for each chapter or each section, and then I know what's going to happen, but when I actually sit down and write, a lot of things happen, and a lot of the characters say things that are like, wow, where did that come from? Or, sometimes I may go back and I may tweak I may think, oh, that could work later on, and I may add that, but at least I know where I'm going, so I don't have all this crazy editing to do.
When you made the outline for this novel, how long did that take? Was it something that you thought about for months?
I did. I'll tell you why, because I had the idea, the kernel of the idea that I wanted a spirit to help a living person. That's all I knew. And then I kind of had an idea of that location, which I thought was going to be out on Long Island in New York. And then I actually started writing. I had an outline, which I totally threw away later, but it was going to take place during World War II in France.
Ooh, okay.
In the Alsace-Lorraine region. And I started writing a chapter or two, and that works. I may use that for some other time, but it's not this story. And I actually have done a lot of writing about World War II with some of the movies that I've written. But this, when I went to Kauai, it was like, no, it has to be here. And I just, certain things came to me.
Okay. And then what about the characters? So, you must obviously outline the characters, how you feel what they're going to be.
I do. I do. When I do the outline, of course, I know who the protagonist is. Mm-hmm. And then I have to figure out, okay, well, how do I tell my story? Who do I need to help support the protagonist or be the nemesis, Mm-hmm. And I knew what I needed her to have: a mother, a father. I wanted her to have a family. Family is very important in my story. It's very important to Kate's life. Kate Grace is my main character. Mm-hmm. And, she's a young woman who has a nice career, but she also comes from a great family. And she wants that in her life, but it's she hasn't had that opportunity yet. She's trying, okay. But she's already 30, and, her friends are giving her a little grief because what is she doing? Mm-hmm. She's mm-hmm. not making any effort towards achieving her dreams. So the book is about achieving her dreams personally and professionally, and she thinks she kind of has it under control, and then she realizes she doesn't. And so what happens when certain things happen that break her world down? How does she find herself? How does she get a grounding? How does she find her authentic self? And that's where spirit comes in, because there's a little bit of mysticism about this, spirituality, spirits from beyond help her. And one of the reasons also why I wanted to place it in Hawaii was because ohana, which is family, that's the word for family, okay. is so important in Hawaii. And they believe your blood relatives and your good friends and your good friends at work too are all part of your ohana. Okay. And they also believe that the spirit lives on, as many other religions do, mm-hmm. but they take it a step further. They actually revere and communicate with their loved ones on the other side. And I always believe that to be true.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is good, and it seems like it all worked out perfectly.
Yes. So it was like, no, that's why I said it. As soon as I was there, I was like, no, it's meant to be here.
Yeah.
This particular story needs to be here. And also I fell in love with it. And Kate, I make her, she has some hobbies that I do, cooking and photography. Yeah. And photography, there's a lot to photograph over mm-hmm. in Hawaii.
Yeah, I bet.
So once again, it was a chance situation. I mean, you've gone to Hawaii many times, but you just happened to go there this time. And then that turned into the story.
It did, and I love the other islands. And as I said, we go there all the time. We have a place on the Big Island, and we're actually going to Maui because we love it there. And I think we're probably going to be doing something over in Maui. But I love the islands, and I've always had this affinity for it. But I didn't think necessarily about placing the story there. I don't know why. And then just something clicked about being there, and I started to work on that. And then unfortunately my mom passed in December of 2014.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, and after she passed, it was kind of sudden, and after she passed, everything came to be, and her spirit is in the spirit of Catherine, Kate's mother.
Great.
Oh, that's
yeah,
nice. A nice tribute to your mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, she's a perfect character for this novel.
And you know her pretty well.
Yeah.
I know her pretty well.
Yeah. So all right, so now everything's coming together, but how do you make it a reality? How did you decide to get it published?
Oh, okay. Well, I know I just needed to write it. I was driven. I was a driven person. I mean, even to the point where, sticking to my 20 pages, and as soon as it was over, I was editing it, making it perfect, because I knew that I had one shot when I handed it in, even though I have other writing credits, and I have been an editor for magazines, but I did a cookbook before this, but I had never done a novel. Okay. And so I got it into the best shape I possibly could. When you hand a script in for the first time, you want it to be as good as it possibly can be. So I went over it a few times, got it to the place I really believed in, and then I knew that I would have to have an agent. I called a few publishing houses, and I realized I can't submit it myself. They really want you to go through an agent.
Right.
And I knew some agents, but I ended up going through, a friend of mine recommended an agent to me. And it was an agency that I had spoken with before, and I called them and I said, I wrote this, so-and-so recommended me, and I would love to send you my manuscript of my novel. And they said, send it, we'll have someone review it. It may take a few weeks, but we'll get back to you. Waited a few weeks. Literally 2 weeks later, I got a phone call. My office loved your manuscript.
Wow.
We would like to sign you.
2 weeks.
I'm like, yeah.
Wow, they want to sign you just like that too. Wow.
But guess what? Literally 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, only a short period of time, I get another call from the agent. He said, Maryann, you're not going to believe this, and I don't quite believe it, because usually it takes at least a year, maybe more, but there's an offer on the table from a publishing company.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, fabulous.
Yeah.
So that was how it happened. And it happened very quick. But I look at it this way. I put in a lot of years beforehand. So it's like, okay, I'm glad it happened.
Well, yes.
Right, there was a lot of writing going in before you wrote that novel.
Absolutely.
Right.
A lot of writing.
So it all paid off in the end.
So I saw on your webpage that your second book is coming out next year.
I have a second book, and it's a sequel to this book. And I'm just about to turn it in. I got a little bit delayed because there was a lot of work to do, getting ready for this book to be released, and then also other work that I'm doing, other projects. But I'm just about to send it in to be edited to the editors. My publisher, they have an editorial staff. So I will keep you posted on that publication date. I don't have any news about that yet.
Okay, well, we'll definitely.
But there is a book.
We'll add that to our show notes.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
a second book.
So what did you learn? What made it easier on the second book, or what do you wish you had known the first time around?
I have to say, writing the first book was really a joy. And I think that while I was writing it and after I finished, I thought, why did I wait so long?
Oh.
But I think I needed to, there's reasons for everything. And I don't claim to know all of the reasons, and I don't have all the answers. But I think writing a novel, you have to take it step by step. You can't think, I have to write 400 pages like tomorrow. I think it was a little daunting knowing that a novel has to be a certain size, and how am I going to get there? Mm-hmm. When you have a blueprint, it's you can get there. And I think the whole thing is to have a working blueprint that you feel really good about and you feel passionate about. I think you have to have passion for it. And I think that it is with writing. You have to be motivated to sit down and make that commitment. And when you love what you're writing and you love the characters and the project, it makes it easier. It's still not always easy because you have other things going on, especially unless you can just sit down and have the luxury of saying, I can write for 8 hours a day, no problem. But I have a job, I have a family, I have a lot of things happening and other projects, commitments that I have. So I had to carve out a space, and I usually like to write in the morning.
Okay.
So I get up early, or I'll go to the gym, and then before I start my day at my office, I'll do my creative writing, or also on the weekend. It just depends. Sometimes I can play around with those hours a little bit, but I love writing in the morning. And I think that, again, when you have a plan, a blueprint, you can go back and tweak it and change it and things like that. But I think it makes it a lot easier to write. And then you just have to really enjoy the process, because that's where things happen, and that's where the magic happens. Mm-hmm. And I found that I had to write this book, and I have to write books now, because I get a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, maybe cranky, or, I get constipated. I have to get that out. Good. I have to get it out. And I find that I'm not as joyous when I don't express myself that way. When I write an hour or two a day, I just feel like I'm walking on air.
Great. Well, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that you have the passion. Like you said, it goes back to passion.
You have to. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And, hopefully you'll see that monetary reward, but it may take a teeny bit. Even when I write screenplays, a lot of those screenplays are projects that, I have adapted a number of novels into screenplays, but I've done a lot of my own original screenplays as well. And so sometimes, you can sell one and it could be made into a movie, and then, you might have a little bit of a lull in between. It just depends. So you have to be passionate about your work, because otherwise, why do it?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did see that you were a screenplay writer for Hallmark. So.
Right. I did a movie, The Lost Valentine, with Betty White and Jennifer Love Hewitt, and that was. Thank you. That was my first movie that I wrote. I had been
right off the block, huh? Right out of the.
Yeah, I had been doing a lot of producing movies. I had produced movies, maybe 6 or so, for Showtime Network, Sci-Fi Channel, different outlets. I had done a lot of TV show writing and production. And a friend came to me, I don't know, maybe it was 2001, and with a novel, and she said, I think this is up your alley. Why don't you read it? And I read it, and I said, I really love it, but there's no development money to write a screenplay, but I would like to write the screenplay. So I wrote the screenplay. That was the first screenplay. And I went through a couple of editing rounds of the screenplay before we submitted it. But yes, it was a beautiful project based on The Lost Valentine. First, it was entitled The Last Valentine, and then the book was released as The Lost Valentine, a book by James Michael Pratt. And we had actually pitched it to Hallmark Hall of Fame. It was on CBS Hallmark Hall of Fame. It had been pitched, and they at first rejected it. And then a year later, I said, we have to go back again. This is a Hallmark movie. Hallmark Hall of Fame. It's The Lost Valentine. So we did go back, and they said yes, they wanted to do a deal.
Good thing you went
back. That was in 2006. And then that's when we did our deal, but the movie was made in 2010 and released in 2011. But it became the highest rated film for Hallmark for 4 years, and it kept that highest rated status for CBS for 5.
Wow.
And then it became it's part of their classic Gold Crown collector's editions, and it airs regularly now on the Hallmark Channel.
Wow.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So
it was fabulous.
Were you there when they made the movie?
Yes, I was. I was not there for every day, but I was there for quite a bit. The writer, producer, there was a line producer on it. I was a producer, co-writer, and so I was there quite a bit. And I had a lot of work to do after as well. It was just beautiful. And Darnell Martin, who directed it, did a great job. And when I saw the first cut, I was like, oh, I was so happy.
Ah, good.
Because it takes a lot of people to make a film.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, can we go back to the publishing? So when you were working with the publishing company, did you find things easy? Did you feel like you lost control, or did you feel like this was a good fit for me?
It was a very good fit for me, and I also know I felt confident in my book that I had really done a lot of editing. It was tight. And if you have ever seen, I just saw it the other night with my husband, a fabulous movie, Genius, with Jude Law.
No.
Have you ever seen that movie? It's based on the life of Thomas More. And he came to Scribner and Sons with a manuscript that was huge. And at one point, Colin Firth says, he talks to him about editing. Well, how much am I going to have to edit? Oh, about 300 pages. And it's like, he was an amazing writer. But, everyone has their own process. Some people love to handwrite it, and they'll do it on, I think Jackie Collins she used to say she did it on lined paper. And I'm like, I think that's amazing when people can do that, or they'll just go on and on. For me, I just need a blueprint. I need to know, I need a little map. And that's my comfort. And it needs to be tight, because I hate going back and editing too much. I don't mind adding certain scenes in and things like that. And of course, you're always going to go back. It helps to write, and then when you're done with it, go back and then put it away for a week or so and go back again, because you'll see little words. Well, I think I'd rather say it this way, or, this and that. And of course, you always do the spelling and the commas and things like that. But I really do think that for me, I work best when I have the blueprint. I'm used to working that way. I use a blueprint when I do screenplays. And I learned doing it when I adapted novels into movies.
Well, Maryann, we're about to wrap up, and I was wondering, what's the best advice you can give fellow authors, and how's the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you?
It depends what kind of advice you'd like, but I do think for me, working with a blueprint or knowing where you're going before you start writing will help you. I think it's important to put yourself on some kind of a schedule, a routine of some sort that will get you in the zone and get you in a habit of writing, because I think that's important too. And when you're writing, you don't have to always every day go back over what you did yesterday. Just feel good about what you're writing. Move forward. You could always go back and change things. But as long as you're sticking to the outline, just get it out. Sometimes people say, oh, the blank page, and they kind of obsess over certain things, and they never get moving beyond that point. I think sometimes you have to get it out, and then you can go back. And
yeah, that's great.
People and people have their own process.
Yeah, but I think, like you said, when someone's so overwhelmed, like, I don't even know how to get this started. When you said that about the blueprint, this organizes your thoughts at least, and then it can help you get things going. Yeah,
it's also important. Let's say if you're writing a mystery, okay, there are clues that are going to have to be put in around. Yeah. So you have to know where that goes. And you don't want to go back and I forgot that, or this. You want to, you want to know. Right. So that's important. And then I think again, write something that you're passionate about, that you feel you want to convey, and of course it will help if you have an audience. Another thing I think that writers should know about is marketing and promotion. Because that's really important. Because even if you're a huge writer with a multi-million-dollar advance, or you don't have that, every writer, especially in this day and age, has to do a lot of their own promotional work. So while you're writing, I would look, maybe take a class or two on publicity and marketing.
Oh, good idea.
Find out about it. See how to do it, because you do need I could talk on a whole other show on this topic, because my background, my day job, so to speak, for many years has been in marketing.
Yeah, we see on your website you have you do quite a bit, and it's
yes,
very nice.
I've done a lot. I've done a lot for the studios, sports, entertainment, education, government, and if this is your product, you are presenting yourself to the world, and publishing houses can only do so much. They have many books, many authors, and they usually take care of the trades and things like that. But when there's so much you need to do with your own website, with your own databases, with your own networking. You can have a hand in making your own promotional package. There's so much, if you have to hire that out, you'll be broke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, people who are listening to this should look at your website, because I think you do have a very good website. You list everything out, that what you do, and you try to connect it with people coming to your website. So could you tell us your website, please?
Sure. It's Maryann, and it's my name, Maryann Ridini Spencer, MaryanNRidini Spencer.com. And then I have a blog, simplydeliciousliving.com, but people can get to that blog through the MaryanNRidiniSpencer.com. And they can just, even Lady in the Window, has its own page on my website. Mm-hmm. So if they want to find out more about the book, they can go to that page, and it will also tell them where they can get the book. Barnes & Noble, it comes out May 9th, so they can get it either Barnes & Noble, Amazon. There'll be other ways to get it as well.
Great. I have an excellent idea. What about when your second book comes out, we get in contact again and we do another show about promoting books?
That's fine. You don't even have to wait that long if you don't want. But I really think that promoting, it's very important for authors to get on board with what they'll need. And you can Google that too, because online there's a lot of helpful articles about what authors need to do. But I would, that is my background. So, I would love to share that with people.
Sounds wonderful.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you very much, Maryann, for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was great talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very nice talking to you.
And thanks for listening to the Author Inside You podcast. And until next time,
right on.
Thank you for listening to the Author Inside You podcast with your host, Leah and Matt Rafferty.